Hello, fellow traders. Well, we live in interesting times, as someone once said. I think it's Dickens. We had an interesting week, very interesting week, because if you go back to my techniques, you can see that we had a typical squeeze here just before the number on Friday, which was totally unanticipated, I think, by a lot of people. A very bad jobs number, given that the jobs had been quite good up to now. This is the worst number for a long time. And we had this big spike in the euro. Now, you can see here that obviously it's a good thing to, you can't just run away from these numbers because volatility is good and there are things you can do. And using my black box method, I thought a long time about what to do in a squeeze. As you know, a squeeze is an area of very low volatility, and usually these areas of low volatility are followed by a big movement up or a big movement down. Now, Friday was quite good because the black box gave a few buy points here, as you can see, and finally was on the right side. But that's not always the case, because what happens in a squeeze, the black box will do little zigzags and maybe sometimes end up the wrong side. That's why I made the squeeze break module, which will take a breakout trade, and that's the only time I use breakout trades. I don't subscribe to the touch and go method in Bollinger's book. I've tried to optimize it. I don't subscribe to breakouts on Bollinger unless the bands are very, very narrow and they're in a squeeze. That's where I'm different, and that's why I optimize my bands, and that's why the black box method is quite successful over time. All you need is an edge over time, isn't it? If you have an edge, however slight that edge is, over time you'll win. So you need a system, you need to stick to it, you need to be disciplined, you need to not give up, you need to not change all the time. Stick to the system. I've looked at so many things that I've decided this is the best entry methods I could ever see. The exits are always controversial. I have the luxury of being a full-time trader, so I can decide on my exits and not always wait for the EA to exit. But as a standalone, the basic horse version and the BBSO module do as well as a machine can do exiting. Not always perfect, but most of the time, over time, giving you an edge and a profit. Okay. Now you can see the black point exits here, which were maybe a bit early. See, these are the points, and at the end of the day, given that this was a very big spike, decided to take a short and try and fade the spike. Normally there's a 50% retracement. Let's hope we see that on Monday or during the week. I'm patient. Okay. Now what I want to talk about today is structure. And what is structure? Here is a chart. Structure is a chart with nothing on it. Okay, no fancy indicators, not even an unfancy black box. You can add it because it helps you. You can trade just with the black box. But here, what I want to show you is what you can do with structure. What is structure? Structure is basically looking left. Okay, looking to the left of the chart. So here, for instance, you have these points, and you can definitely see some congestion points, which you would call structure. Okay, you had here a nice head and shoulders, not a perfect head and shoulders, but look, structure up here, breakdown in this kind of structure. Okay, a breakdown indicates a lower level. Here you could have drawn a channel here, that was staying in a nice channel. All of a sudden you get this spike. What do you do with that? That's pretty unnatural, technically speaking. We know why it is fundamentally, but technically speaking, that's an unnatural thing. And you could probably expect at least a 50% drawdown. I may be wrong. There could be a move up, But if you look left again, what I'm trying to say here is structure is so important. And by looking left, you can see what the market's done. Look here, it's very clear with nothing, no indicator, that there's a congestion pattern here. You can draw a line on top, and it's been staying in this channel until it broke out again, went to the top. But this is a structure that has gone back to the structure here. Okay, and look where we stop here. Again, there's some structure, although they're small, but they're here. Okay, this is like the head and shoulder. You could draw a line here through this structure here, sort of a almost there here, another head and shoulders formation. And if you look back down here, look at that. This is my congestion pattern, which makes me think that the dollar is probably going to go there. And you could add fundamental reasons. People buy dollars when they're uncertain. Brexit's coming up. Some Fed meetings. I'm sure there's going to be some movement down. So you know, we need to play both sides. But that's why we have Renko too. Now let's have a look at Renko. Renko did very well on Friday, which is another, you know, on another account where I do things. This is my Renko program. You can see that after a bit of hesitation here, which was very frustrating in a way, because you get these not so great balls. They were okay, but definite 5-wave buy pattern here. But this sort of you know, sell here, buy here, sort of gets you a little bit annoyed with the Renko. Meantime, the black box is doing its range trading, and here 3 boxes. We had a buy. It was so fast that you probably got a very bad entry, as I said before. This is not like a demo account. Remember, the demo accounts are not the real thing. I see so many people, you know, spending a hell of a time on demo accounts and not realizing that it's imaginary prices. First of all, houses aren't going to spend a hell of a lot of money for you to get very exact prices on demo accounts. You're dreaming if that's the case. They do take the prices off the market, but the trades you're getting are imaginary because they're just exactly what's on the screen. That's not what exactly happens in life, is it? Because your trade becomes an instant trade. And what's an instant trade? Once you hit a point, you go to the market maker. Most of the time, that is working against you, or working with a bias with his position, and you get a totally different price, which can over time make a big huge difference in demo accounts. Okay, so that's not the real life. You always need to forward test things, but obviously when you see a huge optimization that looks very good going back, that is useful, obviously. Another trick used by a lot of people is to make very large accounts, and your drawdown looks very small, like cent accounts and all that. But trying to, you know, scalp 2 or 3 pips, I don't think is realistic in the long run, because they reverse engineer your program, put it in, and they'll let you make some money for a while. That's why bots come off one by one. But, you know, that's me speaking. So, as you know, what I'm trying to do is offer some value here. Okay, I'm trying to offer value products. This is my thing. I'm offering very good, sturdy, my basic black box product. I love it more and more. I did very sophisticated products that are very difficult to tune but do work. But my basic products are actually very easy to use. They're at a great value. I'm selling them at $30. I want everybody to have them. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Not that half the world isn't using Bollinger Bands, but I'm using optimized Bollinger Bands with special techniques. So there is a lot of value in the program. It's about 350 lines of code. done by a very good programmer who has risen so high now that he doesn't program anymore. People program for him. But he originally did the black box for me because I'm more of a developer. I mean, I could program, but I'm not a genius programmer. Based on my ideas, and look at it, you know, like 5-6 years later, it still works. You know, it's not a scalper. It's actually a mechanical investment technique, I would say. It's making sure you get the right entry. I'm trying all the time. I haven't seen any a better entry pattern. It coincides with the harmonics. It's incredible. It coincides with the entries with Gartleys and things like that. I don't know why, but I guess, you know, that's human behavior. Patterns stay the same, but the black box entry points are excellent. The exits are the best I can make it for a machine. I have the luxury of being a full-time trader, so as we all do, I take profits a bit early sometimes. I don't wait for the bot to take its profits, so it takes stops. But it works very well as a standalone. My scalper is automatic. You need to get in touch with me because you can't have all the modules on all the time. You can't use it on default all the time. You need to do a little bit of tuning on it. But the basic black box, you know, it's pretty straightforward to use once you've optimized it, or once you use some universal points. If you don't want to optimize it, I can give you some universal points that will work on practically everything: commodities, gold, oil, indexes. I use it a lot on the US index, and obviously on the most liquid pairs. And some people dare to use it on pairs that I would probably never touch, like the New Zealand dollar, things like that. So, value. But let's talk about my signal. My signal is a long-term project, okay? As I've mentioned, what I'm trying to do now, I've changed my my rifle, put my rifle on a different shoulder, as they say in French, literal translation. I'm trying to offer value products for people because I think that's what people need. People are just tired of paying 500-600 euros for a scalper that sort of disappears a few days later, etc. There is no perfect machine. I've worked many years to make perfection, and I guess my manual trading can't beat machines, that's for sure. So anyway, my signal can work in two ways. I've made it very hard for me because I've started a signal with a very small amount of money. Okay, that's hard because it's much easier to run a cent with 30,000 fake dollars on it and make your drawdown look really small. I'm using a real signal, real money, and small. I didn't put $2,000-3,000 as I usually do, giving me a lot of room. So I've challenged myself, and I want to be number one, and I will get there with a small signal. But what's amazing about this, one of the reasons I did a $400 account is that it mirrors extremely well. I have a large shareholder, I call him my largest shareholder, who just, you should see the mirror trades he gets by using the percentage change. It's quite incredible. And I noticed that some of the top signals have very little amount of money in it, and a lot of subscribers. So you can use it in two ways. It's for everybody, really. So you can use it by a small amount of money. I mean, it should be at least what I have in, which is about $300-400, and you can use it on a $15,000 account using the mirror effect, which works quite well. Your DD will be much lower, and most people who come in now will get nowhere near my DD, and most people haven't got my drawdown because they come in at different points, which makes it interesting. I use a small hedging technique, which I won't get into here, but I have quite a lot of videos on it, which is very controversial. A lot of people don't understand it, but it's a very small hedging technique, with small views and some scalping on the side. And I'm developing an AI program. So quickly, have a look at the signal. Have a look at my basic workhorse. $31 now. It was a lot more expensive before. I want every